Hello, everyone. Take me to your leader. Oh my God. Hey, how you doing? My name is Dan Henschel. I am an astronaut. That means that I went to outer space. So I went in a spaceship with some other folks, and we went up in the air like this, straight up, and we kept going. And we kept going, and we didn't stop until we couldn't go anymore. It really was not that great, I gotta be honest. And I think that's basically the fucking stupid helmet. I'm sorry, I can't wear this helmet. I was gonna see if I could wear the helmet the whole video, but I can't wear this fucking helmet. I'm sorry. And that is basically the crux of the whole thing. Because this helmet is so annoying to wear. It is literally, you literally basically just have a bowl on your head. You have a fish bowl on your head, And when it's hooked up to everything, they give you they put the air in. But it's really annoying. And so the whole idea of going to space, I feel like, is sort of a misnomer because we don't ever go to space. We go in a very small airplane and we look out the window. And then we put a fishbowl on our head and we see, basically a glorified, this is a screen. This is no different than putting a phone on your head. This is basically like if you put a shopping bag over your head and then you brought your phone in the shopping bag and you YouTubed space, 10-hour loop, trippy visualizations, it would be the exact same thing. So it'd be like, okay, well, it's cool, I guess, but I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I'm cramped in this weird thing. I would have a much, and even the other weird thing is that now that I took the helmet off, I feel like the helmet is still on my head. It's all sorts of stuff like that. And at a certain point, it's like, is this really worth it? Is this really, if we are going up into space and we are spending all this money, what exactly is it for? Because space, I think, is just one of those things. Now that I've gone there, it's kind of like, imagine if you got in an airplane. An airplane sucks. Most of us have flown. So, when you're in an airplane and you open the window, it's cool to see, the Grand Canyon and stuff. It's cool to look out the window. But if you were given the opportunity to get in an airplane and not go anywhere. So if you were going to get in an airplane, you were going to take off, you were going to do a loop for about 3 hours, and then you were going to land back where you were before. Would you still want to do it? A commercial airline? No! Because it sucks to be in an airplane. It's cramped. It's claustrophobic. It's what's the word? Musty? Well, it is musty, but it's what's the other word? Stuffy. And I just would not describe it as a pleasant experience. And the other thing is that it's not like we know. Human beings evolved to be on the ground. So when we don't have any real reason to go up in the sky and look at stuff. It's just not something that we need to be doing. It doesn't look interesting. That we don't even have. I went to the Grand Canyon once. And if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, when you look at it, it looks flat. Because your eyes don't know what you're seeing. Your eyes are not built to process the visual information that you're seeing. So it just looks like a flat backdrop. There's no depth to it at all. And so you go to the Grand Canyon, you're like, okay, but this looks like a photo. This looks like a picture. This looks like I'm looking at a TV screen. At least when you're in the Grand Canyon, you don't have to wear a fishbowl on your head and a bag over your body, you know. So, but I guess my point here is just that it's not as great as it's not all it's cracked up to be, you know. And I got a mental health evaluation and everything, and I thought maybe I was depressed. I went in the International Space Station, and it was basically just like staying in a Best Western, you know. It was like a 2-star hotel. And I guess that's the biggest thing that I would like to emphasize. Imagine you were in an airplane and a shitty hotel, a Motel 6. I know I said Best Western, but I'm changing it to Motel 6. Imagine you're in an airplane and a Motel 6, but you are not actually anywhere. So what I mean by that is, imagine you're in an airplane in a black void of nothing. And then imagine you're in a Motel 6 in a black void of nothing. Because that's what space is. That's what going to space is as an astronaut. You know, a Motel 6 is kind of cool if you can go out and you can, you know, go to the Grand Canyon. But if the trip itself is the part where you're in the airplane and the part where you're in the hotel, and the entire point is that you're supposed to think is cool is this Motel 6 and this airplane is in a crazy place. You can't see the crazy place. You just have to have the knowledge that that's where you are. You can look out the window and you can see nothing. You can see black, you know. If you want to simulate exactly what it's like to go to space, go in an airplane and bring a piece of black fabric and put it over the window. Or I guess that's redundant. Just close the screen. Because that's the whole experience of being in space. And then go to a Best Western and print out on a poster board. No, not even that. Because here's the other thing about going to space. You have the same fucking view. It's exactly the same. Because when you look up at the night sky, it's the same as when you, it's like it's not a big enough difference to see anything else. So that was one of the things that infuriated me, was I was like, this looks the fucking same as it did when I looked at it on the ground. Because we're only, you know, if you put it into scale, it's like you are looking at the night sky and then you stand on top of a bucket and look up at the night sky, and you're not going to be any closer. You're going to see the exact same thing. So it's just, I just don't get it. You know, and I guess the only part that I would say was a little cool. Cool is probably the wrong word. It actually was deeply horrifying, and I vomited. Was looking back and seeing the Earth from that high up, you know. But again, you can get that in an airplane. You can see the exact same thing in a fucking airplane. It's like, and it's the same view. You're still seeing the Earth from high up. You're just a little higher up than you would be in an airplane. You stood on the ground and then you stood on a bucket. Because the reason I'm saying the bucket thing is because that's the scale. You know, the closest star to Earth is I think 8 light years away. Some amount of time that does not matter if you understand it, because basically the only thing that your brain's going to be able to understand is it's far away. It's so far away that no actions we could possibly ever take as human beings could get us any closer in a meaningful way. So it's far. We can go up in our little dinky, tin can. All right, here's another metaphor. I'm all full of metaphors today. Imagine you have an empty soda can. Okay, so imagine in your mind you have a Coke can, and you drink the entire thing. And then you go to an anthill and you take 3 ants and you put it in the soda can. and then you throw the soda can as far as you can into the air. That's what going to space is like. The ants are not going to enjoy themselves. The ants probably won't even know what the hell's going on. It's not going to be fun for the ants. They're not going to say, wow, we really were pioneers. We were the first ants to ever go 30 feet in the air. That's probably true. But so what? Who cares? It doesn't mean anything to them. It's just like, okay, we went 30 feet in the air. Can we go back to doing ant stuff now? It's just... And the thing that frustrates me is, it was one thing when, like, we were just scientists doing it, and we were just kind of trying to, discover things. The whole point to begin with was, if we learn about space, it will make our lives on Earth more meaningful. But it has completely gone off the rails. Once the Elon Musks, once the Jeff Bezoses, once these dorks, you think the NASA scientists are dorks, you should see these guys. The venture capitalists who are only interested in becoming space landlords. They want to see how much, they want to be able to put their low-income housing, the opposite of that, high-income housing. Gated communities, that's what I meant to say. They want to put their gated community on the moon. They want to put a gated community on Mars. They want to rent out studio fucking apartments on the moon. I already said the moon. Ganymede. It doesn't make a difference what it's called. We'll never be able to go there. And if we could go there, here's the other thing. Let's say, hypothetically, we can go to the moon. We can do that. But there is nothing to do there. There is nothing to do. There is nothing that we can do on the moon that we cannot do in Phoenix, Arizona. There is nothing on the moon that would not be infinitely harder to do than in the middle of the Mojave Desert. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand even why this. It's one thing because you want to go to the moon and you want to just see what it is. You want to just see what's up there. That's what we were doing the first couple of times, because we were just like, let's see what's up there. But now it's like, let's go to the moon and let's go to Mars so that we can make it habitable for human beings. And it's like, well, what are you talking about? Why do you want to make it? Why are you going to take this completely inhospitable place and try to turn it into Earth when you already have Earth right here? You already got it. You already have the thing that you want. You already have that right here. And it's perfect. Every fucking thing is exactly the way that it's supposed to be. The air is perfect. Have you ever been to California? It's beautiful. It's perfect. You can grow food on the ground. You don't have to terraform anything. You can just put food in the ground and it'll grow. And then you can eat it. So why the fuck do you want to go to space and try to make that Earth? It's just going to be really hard. It's just going to be a lot of money. And you're going to create a shitty piece of bullshit. Why? Why? That's like volunteering to go into the middle of the Mojave Desert and try to set up an ice cream stand or set up a lemonade stand in the middle of the desert. Do you just want to do it so that you can have the satisfaction of being the first person to set up the ice cream stand in the middle of the fucking desert? It doesn't make sense. And, with this Katy Perry thing, they always do this, too. Have you noticed that? Every time they say, oh my gosh, Katy Perry's going into space. We're going to go into space. They make it sound like they're going to do the Apollo 11 and they're going to walk around on the moon. When going to space, like I said before, Technically, what that means is you go to the Kármán line, or whatever it's called, the Gim-Gam line. That is just going in an airplane, but slightly higher than a regular airplane. You are technically in space. If you were in an airplane, imagine you're in an airplane. The pilot says, okay, we've reached our cruising altitude of 30,000 feet. Then the pilot comes on and says, hey, we're going to go to 40,000 feet now. Okay. It looks the same. It's the same as what this is. And then the pilot says, no, but we're slightly higher than we were before. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it cool that we're slightly higher than we were before? Sure, I guess. But it means nothing to me. We're still in the plane. We're still looking down at the Earth. It's stupid. I'm sorry. Because the other thing is, like, the spirit of discovery and all of that, that stuff is only meaningful on Earth. Because on Earth, you can sit and you can watch the night sky and you can think, oh my gosh, I wonder what's up there. Wow, I bet there's so much beyond the veil of our understanding that we cannot even begin to comprehend. You can only think about those things in a meaningful way if you are... There's a reason why homeless people don't want to go to space. Because they don't care. They care about getting a shower. And they care about getting a granola bar. They care about charging their phone. When you go into space, all of a sudden there's no air. There's no air, there's no gravity, there's no nothing. So, you're not sitting up in space and thinking, wow, this is so cool. You're sitting up in space and thinking, Then you get back down to Earth, and everybody's like, what did you learn in space? What did you learn about the human experience, I learned that I really love air. I learned that I really love walking on the ground. There is not... Do you know how statistically improbable it is that Earth exists at all? That life arose on Earth? Do you know that if the Earth was 5 millimeters to the left, it would be a charred husk? Do you know that the only reason we exist at all is because the Earth is exactly where it is? Exactly where it is. And so, life formed here and nowhere else. Maybe it formed we know for a fact that there is nothing in our solar system that is alive. Nothing is alive. There is nothing at all. So why do we want to go there? It's all right here. We all got it right here. There's no water in space. None. There's some, but it's frozen solid. And it would take 5 years to get to it. It would take 5 years. If I wanted to go to the only water, the closest water that is in space, it would take me 5 years. Or I could go to the fucking gas station that's 2 minutes away from where I'm sitting right now. I could go to my house, which is 5 minutes away from where I'm sitting right now, turn on the tap, and have all the water I could ever want. I literally have a hole in my house where I can get all the water I could ever want. Let's pull the plug on the space shit. Because we wanted to see what was up there. We went up. We said, oh, there's nothing here. We came back down. That should have been the end of the story. We did it! We went to space! We went to the moon! We saw there's nothing there! The end.